And I can remember to this day, after 10 years, she told me on the phone, she goes, I can't believe you're still alive. I cannot believe you're still alive after what you did. The higher ups or my higher supervisors. So no, I could not trust anybody after I divulged the green wall. The only people I can trust was, and I'll say his name, he's a personal friend of mine, Joe Reynoso, and Lanny Tron. And those are only two guys I can trust. I had, and Lanny could tell you this, I was contacting a lady out of Fresno. She worked for the Department of Justice, a special agent, and I was trying to ask for some help. And I can remember to this day, after 10 years, she told me on the phone, she goes, I can't believe you're still alive. I cannot believe you're still alive after what you did.
Wow.
Wow.
Do you think that the warden is part of that green wall?
Absolutely. The warden was the part of the green wall. He was the one that was in charge of these members of the green wall who were part of the investigative services unit, who work inside as part of the internal, who investigate dirty staff and dirty inmates. These were these guys. You know, take a mind, guys. I'm 6'5", 315 pounds. These guys are about my size, big guys. And they had, the warden told these guys to go put fear and intimidation to the inmates at that prison. And these inmates are not going to do anything to this prison. We're going to control our prison. These inmates are going to take our prison and run our prison. So they had the keys to do whatever they want and protected by the warden at that prison.
So that sounds to me like it suggests that the level of corruption goes beyond the warden. It goes even further than that. That's what it sounds like to me.
It does, Perry. It went all the way to Sacramento. But go ahead, Jeanette.
No, I just have a question. I always was wondering why. Okay, Lenny, can I ask you this question?
Sure.
Okay, you know, as a lawyer, as you go through these trials, how come the judge don't agree with or see that? Why they turn their back on it?
Jeanette, that's a good question. And I think in our case, the judge did not turn his back on it. The judge became aware of the situation and had set the matter for trial. And it was at that point that the Department of Corrections came to us and said, is there any way we can resolve this so that it doesn't go to trial? And, you know, I had to talk to DJ about it, and we're always willing to listen. And the only thing that we agreed was that if you did settle this case, it would not prevent us from broadcasting, writing about, publicizing, continuing to try to resolve this problem. And the department agreed. The department did settle it. I can't tell you the amount. I can tell you we were satisfied. But as part of the change that we asked in the settlement was that the Institute of Policy, where there was new training on the Code of Silence, and that the law was rewritten to protect whistleblowers like DJ. I think to answer both Perry and Jeanette, DJ did go to an outside agency. He asked agents for the Department of Justice who came in and raided the prison and took all this equipment. And then he also went to the Department of Justice to try to get some movement and protection and change. You know, I can't tell you why they decided what they decided, but it is a big, big corporation.
America, I'm only getting started.
The prison industry, both private, which they are becoming now, and public institution, are big, big money. And to have somebody like DJ start talking about the corruption really hits them in the pocketbook. And that's a good motivator for change. And we would think, you know, that would have changed them enough. But as DJ said, there was the fellow that committed suicide just recently over disclosing stuff about the Green Wall, and then in High Desert Prison, another one. So it's not that it's isolated. It was isolated to the incident where DJ was. It is all over the California prison system, and I don't, maybe it's everywhere. I think DJ has already mentioned that it is. I think that the change has to come from people like DJ, people who won't let it die. DJ continues to fight. Hey, listen, Jeanette and Perry, DJ could have packed it in and gone fishing for the rest of his life, but he won't do that. He has no skin in this game. He's done. He's retired. He's finished, but he won't let it go. And if we have more people like DJ who just won't give up, this guy will not give up. And it's not that he has some family member or, some personal interest. He just wants to see prisoners be treated with respect, and the Department of Correction to try to honor its motto, to protect and serve. These are human beings. These are not animals in prison.
I'm a human being, God damn it. My life has value.
You treat them with respect, they're going to come out in society and say, hey, I made a mistake. I'd like to change. I'd like to be a better part of progress. So
that's something we want to do too. We want to try to help and support more for the prisoners and for people that works in the prison as well, not just for the inmates, but mostly for the inmates. We trying to figure out from the beginning of the Hustle Corner, how can we try to support that, how we could build that, how we could build the organization to help the inmates in the prison. Because this is crazy. Yes. It's unbelievable.
My primary concern is the safety of DJ. How can we help him in a way that increases his safety without his life being compromised? How can we do this? We like to find the weaknesses. Like, for example, when you're saying that this goes further up to the warden himself, and then you mentioned that it's a corporation, those are huge weak points. But when you mentioned the guys, like one of the guys that you mentioned, DJ, that too is a weak point. I get the impression that if we looked into the background of these corrupt officers that you mentioned doing these things, we probably find a lot more on them. Would you agree with that?
100%. Some of these officers who were part of the Green Wall, they had other pending investigations for excessive use of force, bringing in contraband, doing illegal activities and criminal activities on these guys that are incarcerated. Oh yeah, they're not your outstanding type of individuals. These guys were corrupt, and they had the backing from the warden, and the warden had the backing from his director, the director of corrections who oversees the Department of Corrections, all the prisons. The warden and him were in cahoots. He actually knew what was going on at the Green Wall. The only time the Green Wall wasn't ever exposed, Perry and Jeanette, is when I testified in the Senate hearings on January 20th, 2004 in a packed house at the state capitol when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor. I walked into a courthouse with my attorney, Lanny Tron, and my good friend, Special Agent Joe Reynoso, and I was protected by the California Highway Patrol when I walked into this courtroom wearing a bulletproof vest. And it was a packed house, and nobody knew about the Green Wall. Matter of fact, I was shocked to see my story hit the front page of the LA Times, and it went Associated Press. It went all over the United States. That's when I stood up against my own powerful union who turned their backs on me when I asked for help. I asked for help from everybody. Nobody gave me that help. I am who I am. And like Lanny said, I'm going to keep on preaching this story until we get change in the Department of Corrections in California and also in the nation. It happens in every state. It happens in New York. It happens in Virginia. You know, these correctional officers who see wrongdoing, Perry and Jeanette, they try to. They're scared to go and report that to their peers or whatever, because they know they're going to be rats or snitches and never going to have a career again. And then they got to watch their backs. But you know what? Like I said, every warden or superintendent within the Department of Corrections in the United States have an obligation to protect that individual who comes forward and to report wrongdoing, not to go after him, not to distrust him. You got to understand, guys, we're the eyes of that prison. We see what's going on in the prison. And if an officer comes forward and reports it to the warden or the superintendent, that man has an obligation to protect him, not to throw him under the bus.
We don't like you, but it ain't personal. We just follow routine after the killing.
You know, this book that I got, Perry and Jeanette and Lanny knows, there has never, ever been a book ever written against the Department of Corrections in the history of the Department of Corrections about how corrupt these members of the Green Wall. These guys are still active as we speak inside the prisons in California. These guys are the millennials, the younger ones coming up that heard about the Green Wall, And they're forming their own little green wall, and they're going after inmates and incarcerated, and any staff who get involved with them, they're going after them. We got to stop this type of culture and environment.
This has been going on for how long?
This happened to me in 2001, 9 days after the Twin Towers came down in 2001.
Okay.
I saw these guys came in. I reported wrongdoing. I actually left the Department of Corrections in 2002 under stress and other stuff. I shortly retained Lanny in 2002 or 2003. I testified in the Senate hearings in January of 2004. Shortly after that night, I had to go in hiding off the grid for 6 months for my own protection. And shortly after that, my father had passed away. And then my father told me his last words on his deathbed were to write a book. Son, write the book. Share this story with the world. Let everybody know about what they did to you. And that's what I did, Perry. And that's the book right there. That's good. It's called The Green Wall, and I had full 100% support from my mom and dad before they passed, my wife, Lanny and his wife, and Joe Reynoso. It is what it is, and everything in this book, and like we said, we're not going to talk about names, but everything in this book is names and everything, and I have all the evidence to support that book, and that book's been out since 2009, and I've never been challenged on it, because everything in the book I got all the evidence to support everything in the book. There's names, there's everything in the book, so I'm not afraid, I walk the walk,
The mayor of your city, your part, you think that he probably read the book? If he did, what do you think that he might try to do anything or trying to fix something? I mean, some type of solution there. I don't understand why it's continue going on in this prison.
Well, the director of corrections, who is the secretary of corrections in the Department of Corrections, knows about the Green Wall. They know about Lanny. They fear Lanny because he represents, these type of people that come forward. The Secretary of Corrections, who oversees the prison system in California, she oversees 36 state prisons in California. Over 30,000 officers are in this Department of Corrections. I went up against 30,000 officers. She knows about my book. She has an obligation to protect. She needs to weed these rogue prison guards completely out of the system. And if she fails to do it, then she's part of the system. She's part of the problem.
Has she in any way found her life being compromised or threatened as a result?
I don't know, Perry, because I don't know the individual, but I know she knows about my story, The Green Wall, because about 3 weeks ago, like Lanny was saying earlier, there was another officer up there. He was part of the ISU investigative unit at New Folsom State Prison. He ended up seeing wrongdoing, seeing stuff that, what was involved. And he came home and he committed suicide. He took his own life. He had a wife and a little boy. His father to this day is furious. His father to this day is what he wants answers. And I've been reading lately. Now there's been some staff walked off the state prison. They're doing a big investigation up there as we speak. And there was an officer walked off out of the investigative service unit who made his life rough and hard. And now you got the FBI involved. The FBI is involved in this investigative case, which we're going to hear a lot about these members of the Green Wall. Now the FBI are involved. And Larry can answer that.
Now, let's pray that the FBI isn't in any way corrupt.
Harry, you asked the question about, is there a way to do this so that DJ's life could never be threatened? And I think there is a way, but I don't know that the impact would be as great. I think it's important for people, whistleblowers especially, to not be afraid to stand up and be heard. And that, as unfortunately the adverse consequence is, the potential for harm in retaliatory misconduct. That's, what happened to DJ, and it's the most extreme thing that's happened to those that have committed suicide. I wish there were a better way to do it. I think the department, if they vetted the prison guards better, they would have a chance. If they were willing to discipline guards earlier, I think you'd see a change. The roadblock we run into there is the unions, and the unions who are pretty powerful just because of the amount of money they have to block any efforts for real progressive change. But that doesn't mean we should stop. It doesn't mean that DJ shouldn't keep fighting. It doesn't mean that there are other people out there who see something, they have to say something. Yeah, there are problems. And yeah, it could be an adverse consequence. But we will never, ever, ever get change unless we speak up. And thanks to you, Perry, and you, Jeanette, to get the voice up to people to say, hey, we got a problem, folks. Let's do something about it, because we can have a better place to live.
We're building this platform for the support of people just like you. Now, I want to run a name by you. You tell me what you think. Kyle Rittenhouse, is that his name? Or Kyle Rittenhouse, the one who shot the protesters during the protest. Now, I don't know how you feel about that kid. You know, I think the whole thing was just a disaster. I think it was horrible what happened. But what really got me most of all is the support that came out of nowhere to back this kid up.
Yeah.
He got millions of dollars. This is what I want the Hustler's Corner to be about for people like DJ.
I don't even know how to put into words how, first, disgust, second, disappointment, and third, total frustration. When I saw the video of what he had just done, and then the police officers that were more concerned about him than about what was happening in the riot, and then to see that he had literally been driven there by his folks. It was a kid from another state. It wasn't in his hometown. I get it if it's your hometown and you're frustrated beyond all frustration. But to be transported into this mess, and then for him to react the way he did is almost, to me, unfathomable. And I mean, I got kids. DJ's got kids. DJ's got grandkids. How do you explain to your kid how this is good? This is the right thing to do. This is the way America's supposed to act. It's the disgust that I felt. And then the disappointment when, as you described, Perry, people sending money to this kid, like he should be put away somewhere where he gets trained about there is right and there is wrong. And what you did was wrong. And there's nothing wronger than what you did. To take a life when you thought it was a cool thing to do was either your brain wasn't fully formed or you have no idea what you're doing, but that's just wrong. And we cannot send that message. And then now it's the frustration. This kid is still going along. It's still going along. And there are lists and lists of people, minorities who suffer these indignities. I don't even get it. And I'm going to let this political thing slide or get out. I cannot believe how much hate was generated during our last presidency. And I pray every day that people will see the light of the new presidency and his governance and to decide we can be better than all this. So I'm off my soapbox.
This is Perry O'Dell coming at you live from the Hustler's Corner, New York City, saying thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us on our show. If you are a person who was exonerated for a crime you didn't commit and you want to come and share your story, come share your story in the Hustler's Corner, New York City, Victims of the System series. If you are a person who lived a former nefarious life and decided to go the straight and narrow and self-reformed, active in the community now, steering and changing our youth in a better direction, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner, New York City Legends of the Hood series. If you are a Black business owner and you want to come share your story about your business and you want to talk about your goods and services and your story, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner, New York City Black Business Movement series. If you are a performing artist, rap artist, hip hop artist, vocalist, actress, and you want to come share your story of how you achieved your career and your success, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner, New York City On the Grind series. If you are a woman who has been through traumatic times in her life and you want to share your story of triumph, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner, New York City Lipstick Stories series. And as always, if you enjoy this show, please show your love. Hit that like button, share, don't forget to leave a comment, and most of all, subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to you being with us again. Peace.